Blessings, dear friend, on this beautiful Ash Wednesday, a day of a very holy day, I would say, to all of us. Go to who some of us who went to church early morning, so that we receive the ashes on our forehead. And today is a day we celebrate Ash Wednesday. It's a time of reflection, and the words we heard when we were marked with a cross on our head is, remember you are dust, and unto dust you shall return. But what really is the true meaning of Ash Wednesday? I'm sure each of us is looking forward to this Lenten period, not with, not really in the sense of the externals, but looking forward to the transformation that will await us in this season. And every year, brethren, in the liturgical calendar, if a Christian starts at Advent, its preparation leads us to Christmas. And then after Christmas, we enter the ordinary time, which is actually not ordinary, but it's ordered time that leads us into Lent, which is where we are starting now. And after 40 days, it leads us to Easter. And then the liturgical year ends with Christ the King. Now, coming back to Lent, we all know it's a 40-day period of prayer, fasting, almsgiving. But where does it all come from? This 40-day period prepares us for the greatest thing that has ever happened to our faith, and that's the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. Without this, we wouldn't be Christians today. If we only had Christmas and there was no death, burial, and resurrection, we would not be Christians. And the 40 days, the number 40 is very significant because the number 40 is a time of preparation, a time of trial. It's a time of testing. And you see it in Noah, you see the rain for 40 days, you see it in Exodus, twice on Mount Sinai, you see 40 days of prayer, you see it in the book of Numbers with the 12 spies that go into the land, you see it in Jonah. But the biggest one is Jesus, where Jesus goes into the wilderness for 40 days, where he's tried 3 times. So 40 is a big deal. Now, what about the dust we hear? We get the dust formed on our foreheads with the words, remember you are dust and unto dust you shall return. What is the significance of that and where did it come from? The dust you see on everybody's foreheads, on every Christian forehead throughout the day is in the form of a cross. These are burnt palm branches from last Easter, or I would say from the Palm Sunday when we were waving out on Passion Sunday. And so we come to a full circle in a sense. The palms we received at Palm Sunday have been burnt and we put it as a sign, a kind of a wake-up call. We come from dust and we are going back there. It's a time of awakening. It's a kind of a wake-up call. And Christians in Christianity, we know that during Lent, we unite ourselves. We Christians know that during Lent, we unite ourselves with Jesus in the desert. And John talks about 3 things. 3 things that we need to get over with. The things that are our struggles, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. And it goes all the way back to Genesis. In the fall of Adam and Eve, looking at the fruit of the tree, she saw that it was good for food. It was a delight to her eyes, and it made one wise, right? Isn't that what Satan tempted her with? The snake tempted her with? So we have these 3 areas we fall into. The lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. And what Jesus does is that he goes out into the wilderness for 40 days. He has this experience. He has this testing. He's also tested out. And he is victorious where we fail time and time again. And right after that, we see in Matthew 5, on the Sermon of the Mount, we hear Jesus talking about fasting, almsgiving, and prayer. And these are the 3 things we focus on during Lent. How do we deal with the lust of the flesh? By fasting. How do we deal with the lust of the eyes? What is the lust of the eyes? It is just some things that we want to acquire, a materialism. right? We want to acquire all these things of the world. We look at something, it's pretty, we desire it. So when we divest ourselves, when we practice almsgiving, when we give away things, things that hold a great importance to our eyes in a worldly sense, we give it away, we make it less for us. That time we are victorious in that area. And then lastly, we deal with the pride of life, where we go in prayer. We humble ourselves. We realize that it's not all about God, but if we are successful, if we have achieved all that we have achieved, it's because of our dependence on Him. It is that we are humble, that we look up to Christ and we say, Lord, it's because of you that we have reached where we are. And I've often asked him this question, why do we have to give up something? Brethren, when we give up something like this, Lent, like say this Lent, okay, I decide to give up chocolate or ice cream, I mean, I'm not saying that it's what I'm going to do, but if we give up something, it's not the giving up of the chocolate that is going to make you closer to God, no. But it's the act of denying yourself and replacing it with something to build you up in your character or virtue and get closer to the Lord. And it's a kind of an alarm on your smartphone that reminds us, hey, remember, you have come from dust and you shall return to it. And it goes back to scripture in the Old Testament. Many of us will be familiar with where the scripture says, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And that's exactly what we are doing. We are then denying the natural good for a greater supernatural good. So it's not just giving up chocolate, but going deeper into ourselves. And many of us are hungry. Hungry for what? Hungry for Christ. What will fulfill this hunger? It is our deepest desire for Jesus. It is our deepest desire to know Him. It's easy for us to know something that it is for us to love something, right? It is easy for us to know about something than for us to love something or to love someone. During this season, let us know more about Jesus. Let us grow more in love with Him. If I may say so, let us romance with Him this Lent. Let's encounter the person of Jesus, and nothing, brethren, is more practical than finding God. Fall in love with Him, stay in love with Him, and it will decide everything. When we fall in love with the person of Jesus, knowing things about Jesus, when we encounter the person of Jesus, it determines everything in our life. And I'm so excited of the journey we are going to take this Lent together. Because this Lent, we are going to encounter the person of Jesus. We are going to hear His voice. We are going to feel His gaze upon us. We are going to feel His breath. We are going to, His breath is going to tell us, His voice is going to tell us how much He loves us. We are going to hear His mercy that pours out from His heart. We are going to encounter His compassion. And this Lent, I pray that you and I are not only going to know about Jesus, but we are going to encounter Jesus. And the reason it's so important is because nothing is more practical than finding Jesus. Again, I say, nothing is more practical than finding Jesus and falling in love with Jesus in an absolute final way. So this Lent, join me in loving Jesus and falling in love with Jesus, in staying in love with Jesus, and love will decide everything. So let's romance. Let's romance with Jesus in a deeper way. He's inviting you to an encounter with Him. I invite you to join me in encountering the person of Jesus. God bless you and have a blessed first week of Lent. God bless you, brethren. Have a good day.